So here we are at the beginning of the October operations phase, and bad things have happened to the UN. Nothing that you see on the map, per se, except they set up two depots, one down here to provide limited support so that they could travel up the road, and one over here. Both of them got restricted commitment. They got no points, which means attacks are at half at best. On the other hand, the North Koreans, even though they suffered a tremendous bombing, the UN increased their air rules of engagement so that they're crossing and bombing across the border now. Even though there was a huge -6, they still got limited, i.e. 1 point of supply. So that this line, at least, is at full strength. They also put their supply depot inside Seoul, because the UN has paratroopers now. So if the supply depot is not garrisoned, it could get dropped on and knocked out. That's an iffy situation, because you do that, you say you're not going to use that regiment for anything else. It breaks down into 3 little paratroop brigades, and you drop them there. Halfway through the October turn, and the UN gained ground, but at a tremendous cost. They launched, well, first of all, they got very lucky on their first attack down here and cleared the road, so they went charging up. They also launched an invasion on Wonsan, which was just beaten back. They lost both the units that attacked, and it wasn't good odds, but because of the low supply situation, they figured, at least maybe I can get a naval attack on it. The reason why Wonsan seems reasonable is that, and I forgot to mention this, the Chinese invaded Formosa, thinking, well, it looks like the UN's going to have trouble crossing the parallel, so let's up the odds a little bit on increasing the global tension die roll, which is basically what happens. There's a few things that happen. One is it bagged these blue guys over here, which are the nationalist Chinese, which are a bad option for the UN to take. Basically, if they're hosed in the early game, it's a quick way to get some troops into Korea. So then, given that this didn't work, they went for the assault on Seoul, and they actually took Incheon, but the port's still mined, and this one still is as well. So they don't have really a great supply situation. They did not take Seoul, but they did clear out everything else in the area pretty much. There's 2 units on the line still, but that too was at costs. We got a bunch of units trying to reconstitute, although we are getting some new ones back here down in Busan from the older dead pile. The UN could really use some reinforcements right now in terms of considering pulling, well, certainly if they get the Republic of Korea troops, that would help a lot, but I'm considering upping the investment in the war. I don't know. I have to think about it. That won't be till next turn, though. I've got this action phase to do first. So that's the end of the October turn. The UN managed to clear the Seoul line completely, just bashing it away. With supply, it was a lot easier than without. They did take some damage, but nothing terrible. One armor unit, definitely. Mainly it was armor casualties. They didn't do much over here near Wonsan. They just kind of positioned themselves. They did charge forward and knock out the North Korean supply. The North Korean army is gone, with the exception of this one unit in Wonsan. But what is here now is a limited intervention by the PRC. And we got some more units streaming down here in just a couple. Now, normally there would be a couple more units on the board. There's normally 12. There's only 8 on the board right now. The reason for that is because of the Formosa invasion. That cuts the Chinese forces down. I'm always iffy on whether or not to do that, just because it does add a die roll modifier. It does increase the global tensions, and, you know, China would like it. But It does. It also reduces the amount of forces China gets to throw on the board by a lot. Maybe enough that North Korea can be militarily defeated. We want to see that. But now the other side of this is U.S. supply is still not looking good. They didn't manage to clear the mines in the Incheon harbor. They didn't manage to clear these mines. They really do not have a good supply source. And if they take Wonsan, well, that's a great supply source. But again, it'll still have to be cleared. So right now, their supply situation is really questionable. They may be falling back behind the 38th parallel. Of course, we're going to see a full Chinese intervention if they can get the die roll for it, because they want to get those troops on the board. Although they would like to get the initial... See, they get one special die roll, one special attack, with the limited intervention, which is doubled. I'm not sure that's worth holding off on the full intervention for, though. Supply situation is questionable right now. It's also coming into winter, which is a good time to trigger the automatic advantages of a Chinese intervention, full intervention, because otherwise supply is going to be hell. It's going to be pretty bad for the UN as it is.